Gossip Girl may have wrapped in 2012, but we're still getting wisdom from the Queen Bee of the Upper East Side. Welcome to MsMojo, and today, we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Blair Waldorf quotes that are still relevant to this day. For this list, we're looking at the most memorable and relevant quotes from this character. Number 10. Equals.
Chuck, I need you to let me handle this on my own. What kind of chance do we have if our fresh start is you buying meat from Louis?
When Blair delivers this quote to Chuck, their situation is pretty preposterous and likely won't be relatable to most regular folks since they're discussing Chuck buying Blair from a prince.
When and if we end up together, it has to be as equals, with nothing over our heads. That's the only shot we have.
But regardless, we can totally take the spirit of this quote into our real lives. The message is simple but poignant. Don't let yourself get into a relationship where there's a major imbalance, no matter what it might be.
I can't stand the thought of you with anyone else. I don't care what it costs or where we have to go. I just want to be with you.
It's always important for you and your partner to be on the same playing field, and for no one to have the upper hand. Number 9. Faith and Mimosas.
Did you happen to see Dan over the break?
Why would I?
Blair has a seemingly endless repertoire of quotable lines, and some are more lighthearted than others.
What's going on with you two anyway?
I don't know, I guess we'll find out how we both feel at family brunch.
While she often orates on heartbreak, power, and reputation, sometimes she has advice on how to let loose and have some fun. This quote is important to remember, especially if you're about to have a confrontation over brunch.
Well, here's my advice. Have a little faith, and if that doesn't work, a lot of mimosas.
But in all seriousness, the spirit of this line is to sometimes recognize that not everything you attempt is going to work out, and that there's no harm in soothing your wounds when it doesn't. Number 8. The Crazy Ones. When Blair has to make the choice between her fairy tale romance with Prince Louis and her ever-burning feelings for Chuck, she doesn't know what to do.
People don't write sonnets about being compatible or novels about shared life goals and stimulating conversation. The great loves are the crazy ones. M'en fous.
But in her confusion, she makes an impassioned speech to Chuck about what great love stories are really made of. While you might not want to take this piece of romantic advice, Blair's perspective definitely feels familiar to any one of us who have found ourselves in a passionate relationship that doesn't necessarily make sense on paper.
Blair, we're not living in Paris in the 20s.
We both wish we were.
There's a difference between a great love and the right love.
L'amour fou may work in the movies, but it's not quite as practical in real life.
You're the most powerful woman I know.
It's taking all the power I have to walk away from you.
Number 7. Sad in Paris. Your credit card may not love this statement, but we sure do.
You're coming to Paris.
What, I am?
My mom and I are catching the red eye tonight. If you're gonna be sad, you might as well be sad in Paris.
It must be nice to be so wealthy that even as a high schooler, you can jet off to Paris on a moment's notice, just because you've had your heart broken. But the thing is, Blair isn't wrong.
Chuck can shop for sweaters with Harold and Ramon, and we can wander Notre Dame and spend time, just the two of us, like we haven't for so long.
Some might call it running away from your problems, but how could you have a bad time and dwell on your real life when you're gallivanting around in one of the most beautiful cities in the world?
Is your passport here?
In the safe upstairs.
Then you're ready to go. Come on, allons-y.
While you might not be able to afford to fly to the City of Light, you can sure dream. Number 6. Eye on the prize.
Forget boys. Keep your eye on the prize, Jenny Humphrey.
When it seems that Jenny is poised to become the new queen bee at Constance Billard, Blair gives her an inspirational speech that contains so many unforgettable quotes that we couldn't contain it to one entry. This one is good for all of us to remember when we find ourselves thinking with our hearts rather than our heads.
I followed my heart all last year and it led me nowhere. Now I need to follow my head.
While love and romance are certainly important, we've all got to look out for ourselves and keep our goals in mind when making major decisions. Letting ourselves get sidetracked by a guy is never worth it.
I'm sorry, but I have to be Blair Waldorf before I can be Chuck Bass's girlfriend.
Number 5. I don't need a boyfriend. Blair certainly spends much of the series focused on the men in her life, but when she's making assertions to herself, she always makes a point of saying that men aren't that important to her.
But really, S, aren't you sick of brooding artists?
Well, he broods in the sexiest way. That is when he's not looking right through me.
This quote can be used as a mantra when your Tinder date doesn't text you back, or when you see on Facebook that your ex just got engaged.
My life is so bountiful. I don't need a boyfriend to feel fulfilled.
Remembering that you are in control of your own life and your own happiness is an invaluable lesson that we'd all be well served to remember.
Oh my god, come look at this.
But I do need silence to emotionally prepare for the stage.
Number 4, cold to be queen.
Blair, I'm not gonna tell people that.
Why not? I'm giving you what you need to be queen.
Of course, Blair would invoke centuries-old royal history when giving advice to a ladder-climbing high schooler.
I just wanted a chance to have a life in school. And look what it almost made me do.
If you need a refresher, Anne Boleyn was the second wife of Henry VIII, the king who had his first marriage annulled so he could be with her. But love didn't work out in her favor because the king eventually turned on her and ordered her to be beheaded.
That's the thing. You need to be cold to be queen.
While it's a harsh lesson, Blair goes on to mention that Anne's daughter, Queen Elizabeth I, would go on to be one of the most noted royals in all of history, and that she never married.
Anne Boleyn thought only with her heart and she got her head chopped off. So, her daughter Elizabeth made a vow never to marry a man. She married her country.
Number 3, if you really want something. If we were to create a motto for Blair, this would probably be it.
Are you saying?
That Alex White is styling 8 looks today and I need someone to steam the couture? Yes.
I'll be there in 15.
While she made this statement in the season 4 episode Damien Darko, she honestly could have said it in every single episode because that's how much she exemplifies it.
You know what I just remembered? If you really want something, you don't stop for anyone or anything until you get it.
Whether her motives are good or straight up evil, Blair never lets anyone or anything get in her way. Whether it's in her love life, academic career, or her social climbing, you know not to mess with her.
I've been trying to convince people for years. But just so you know, he was never really my friend.
She's practically militant about achieving her goals, and you'd better hope you're not around if she ever fails to. Number 2, you can't make people love you. Maybe we spoke too soon, because this could also be a pretty good contender for the most emblematic Blair Waldorf quote.
You can't make people love you, but you can make them fear you.
Blair certainly isn't loved by everyone around her, but she sure does a good job at making people cower in her wake.
For what it's worth, you're my queen. I choose you.
While this quote may sound like it was ripped off of some maniacal dictator, it's actually a Blair original. Now, we wouldn't necessarily advise that you live your life following this message, but it's important to remember that you can't always control who likes you and who doesn't.
I don't love you anymore. But it takes more than even you to destroy Blair Waldorf.
Before we unveil our favorite Blair Waldorf quote, here are a few fabulous honorable mentions.
Somehow, between being traded for a hotel and selling out for a tiara, I lost my true self. But I want to be found.
Don't act like I didn't fight for you. I did. Hard and for a long time. So, please, forgive me. If now that we're over, I'm exhausted.
Once men have tasted caviar, it baffles me how they settle for catfish.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, 3 words, 8 letters.
Give me a reason. And I'm Chuck Bass doesn't count.
Because you don't want to.
Not good enough.
Because I don't want you to.
Not enough.
We don't always get to see Blair's softer side, but when we do, it's truly iconic. There's perhaps no better known quote from the show than this one, which has been oft repeated and even turned into a meme.
3 words. 8 letters. Say it, and I'm yours.
All Blair wants is for Chuck to tell her that he loves her, but they are obviously not words that come easily to him.
Thank you. That's all I needed to hear.
While he may not have been able to give Blair what she needed in that moment, he sure did come through by the end of the season, when he not only picked up all her favorite things from Europe, but also said those 3 magic words.
I love you too.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.